Think about sales, it's like, oh, yeah, I know, next to, marketing, especially social media, I think sales is another one of those things that when we start our business, we don't think much about, and then it hits us, it's like, "Oh, I gotta make sales." On this episode of Soapbox Wisdom, that's what we're talking about, sales, and I'm Christine Rothdeutsch.
And I'm Barbara Menino.
And we hope that this is an informative and valuable episode of Soapbox Wisdom for you. So just want to remind you to like and share this episode and leave us a comment. Let us know if what we're saying today helped you. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. Maybe you disagree with us, but that's okay. We'll take it. So, Barbara, let's get into the conversation about sales. I don't know about you, but when I first started my own business, oh gosh, going on 13 years ago, um, I thought I'd just hang out my shingle, tell people what I do, and they'd come knocking on my door. And yeah, that didn't happen. And then I started learning. Oh, I gotta ask for sales. I gotta learn about sales. Now, this whole conversation that we're talking about today, this came about there's something that you had read or heard about the shift in how businesses are viewing sales these days. What was that again?
Well, it was about serving instead of selling, and it's a
Mm.
line that I'm hearing a lot today in the business world. And I truly had to laugh when you said, you thought if you put out a shingle, people would come. The kind of field of dreams approach to starting your own business. And then you said to yourself, oh no, I have to sell. And that made me giggle because that is a bit of an aha for many of us who moved into the entrepreneurial world from corporate life. And it's funny because I believe that because so many people in the entrepreneurial world are not all ready-made salespeople. We're not all ready-made salespeople. Like you, it was an epiphany when we all realized that it wasn't just practicing our craft, but we had to sell. And if you feel that you don't have a sales personality, that can be very intimidating. So when you shift it from just selling to service, that's kind of cool. And it gives you a different mindset. It gives you a mindset of people first and building relationships. And that's something we have to do in our lives. So why not transfer that skill to business? And when you come at it with that mindset, you can reduce the fear of selling, and you end up likely serving and performing and delivering for your customers and clients even better because you're putting them first.
Now, when you talk about serving, and yes, I've been hearing this for some time also, and in the programs I've been in, I've learned to, well, I've always been one to ask questions, so it wasn't a big shift for me to ask questions of somebody, to find out what do they need? And I think part of the hesitancy, around sales is when people come into this, that they have that vision of the used car salesman and this is what you need. I believe you need this, so you need this. But as you talk about serving, it's really getting to know someone and what they need. And I think that's where sales is what we're talking about today is yeah, there are still people out there that will sell in that manner of that belief of, but you need what I have, whether it's a service or a product or whatever. Um, so yeah, those things still exist. But where we're going today is saying that but if you want to feel comfortable and want to make more sales, of shifting it into that thought, that mindset of serving people, and in serving people, you're getting to know them and what they need. Um, so it's yeah, that serving, besides getting to know people and what they need, is there something else that you do with your business, Barbara? Um, when you've met somebody new and maybe they've asked for a conversation, or maybe, is there something else that comes to mind? Um,
Y- So, yeah. And again, with the selling idea, it used to be that it was all about the product or service and the quota, the
mhm,
sales for those, right? And if you promoted it right, if the price was right, people would buy. It's a little bit of the field of dreams approach with the hard nosed sledgehammer, get to the quota, get the sale. I love what you're saying about finding out what they need. And the only way that you can do that is by asking questions, is by digging deep to find out what makes them tick and what they want to accomplish and what keeps them up at night, uh, because there are obstacles to what they want to accomplish. And again, that speaks to relationships, right? And
mm,
conversations where you really get to know a person. It speaks to the need to listen more than speak. So again, you can take in information, and not just information, but really get a feel of what that other person, your prospect and potential client or customer, is all about. And that's where the journey begins. And
mm.
sometimes it can be a long tail, other times it can be shorter. But you need those steps of relationship building, good interviewing, good listening along the way to actually be able to serve them well.
Well, and as you were saying about the beginning, and maybe it's a long journey or maybe it's a short journey, the piece we need to mention here is, that we also have to ask for the sale. That when we see that there is interest, that there not such just interest, but the need. And I've heard this in some of the coaching programs I've been in, that people that are trying to make a sale tend to keep talking even after somebody said that they wanted what they had,
Yeah,
and then they
that's so
talk
funny.
themselves out of the sale. It's like, but yeah, we also have to remember that piece of, once you uncover that, "Oh, I have what they need." Oh, I have to ask them for the sale. Because there too, what I've heard and I still hear to this day is some people feel, "I'm just gonna share what I have, and if they want it, they'll let me know." Ooh,
That's
wow.
back to field of dreams. It's
Yeah,
depending too much on the universe. And this is one case where you can't just depend on the universe. The
yeah,
ask is important.
yeah, yeah, and then all of this has nuances to it, of it's
Totally.
not just, ask this question, ask that question. They said yes. All right, ask for it. There's nuances to everything that we do. And it's through repetition. Confidence. People talk about having confidence. Well, the more you do, the more confident you become. And yeah, mistakes are going to be made. Maybe you'll lose a sale that maybe if you had said something different, you could have gotten that sale. But all of this is just practice, practice, practice.
You definitely got to stick your toe in the water. And I love what this discussion, what you're saying about the ask. And that doesn't have to be a brash ask.
Mm,
If you've done good listening and you ask questions that relate to what they're answering, you have breadcrumbs to get to that ask. And part of that ask may be including um, potential fears or objections they would have to making a purchase. It's not just, so do you want to work with me? But it's, I believe, a little more gentle. And as you get to the ask of that question, showing them, do you see how this might be able to work for you? How uh, an expenditure now might get you more money down the road sooner than you think. So how about we give this a try? Again, it doesn't have to be brash. It has to be strategic and intelligent. And it really has to be conversational, just
Mhm.
like you talk to people in real life. And I also got a kick out of what you said about continuing to talk after you've done the ask or made the sale. My husband, who has been in sales, has always said to me, and then stop talking. So when to stop is very important.
Well, yeah, and, I've as I look back, I've probably talked myself out of a few sales,
Sure, me too.
but we've all been there. We're all still there. Well, at some point, Barbara, I don't know about you, but feel that I still have well, I shouldn't say so far. I have further learning, further, I need to practice more by having more conversations, more sales conversations. And okay, so we call them sales conversations to ourselves, but the person that we're talking to, we don't say we're having a sales conversation. Absolutely not. It's a discovery call or whatever you call it, getting more information. But yeah, it's a sales call for us, and we have to have our mind there also. Of it's a sales call. Now, before I forget about this, Barbara, I did want to bring in the flip side to what we're talking about here, and that is, so we're talking like from the seller's point of view, but what about from the buyer's point of view? Um, how to show interest in something that somebody has, how to support them, even though maybe it's not something for you right now or maybe at all, but you want to again, like I say, support somebody. Maybe it's, somebody local that whatever. But you learn more about them. You say, I want to learn more. You're having an event, you're having a presentation, and going and supporting them without that fear of, "Oh, but I don't wanna buy, and they're gonna, like, try to get me to buy," and, you know, we all I think where I'm going with this is that we all have to be comfortable on both sides of this to know our limits and to be okay with no.
Well,
How do you feel about that?
so that speaks to the clarity of all of this. When one says service, you get kind of warm-hearted and cozy, um, and that's nice, and that's positive. And in many ways, it can be lofty because something that you're serving selling through serving may actually change a person's life. So there's a lot of wonderful, soft,
Mhm.
heart centered edges around it. But clarity, which is a little more edged, and boundaries are important too. So, in the situation you've just described, how wonderful. And again, this speaks to mindset. If you have this mindset of service, you have this sense of the need for generosity. um, that means not just buyer seller, but it means supporting business partners, colleagues and organizations to which you belong. And that support may just be showing up for them and listening and referring them, or just promoting them, talking about them in conversation, or even if you see that you have something, an insight to share, sharing it with them. That is important too. And it's as important as making a sale. So, to your point of, I'd like to go to this talk, I'd like to go to this demonstration, but I know I don't want to buy. Um, you, you put on your big girl pants or your big boy pants, and you say that at the front end. I'm not likely not interested in buying. Maybe you say now, but I'm likely not interested in buying, but I am interested in supporting you as a fellow business person. And I'd like to show that support by attending your whatever. If the other person receives that well, that's terrific. If for some reason they take offense to it, that's unfortunate. But again, you have the self-confidence, the presence of knowing that you have acted honestly and with integrity and with caring. So your intentions have been in the right place. And then you have to let that go and just be happy that you behaved that way.
Well, and something you had mentioned about the reasons for, attending, something you mentioned about referral. How else do we refer somebody unless we really know what they can do, or, whether it's a service or a product or anything? So, I mean, I've probably done too much research in my my life of learning about different things, but I always felt then I'm gonna tuck the information away, and when I hear somebody that has a need, it's as I'm meeting new people and say we have a one-on-one, and I'll always ask, "So what should I be listening for? What might somebody say that would indicate, 'Oh, I need to recommend them go talk to Barbara,' or, whatever." So yeah, going and supporting people at these things, it's research to help them.
I have a phrase that I use in a talk that I give to people. Um, and one of the sentences is, imagine people smiling when they hear your name. And again, softness and sensitivity. But even if it's not a referral, but somehow you get to mention Sally or Sam in a conversation where there's an alignment, and you smile when they say your name, and it catches fire because smiles and laughter and positivity are contagious, and maybe somebody else throws the name around. It's kind of exponential growth done subtly. So there's so much to be gained when you have a service mentality. And I would add, it's a feel good for you. And
Mhm.
I would add, it's a feel good on both sides. I also have a belief. I've been tired over the years of, if you complain or say something that went wrong in business that day, and the person who's listening to you goes, "Oh, it's just business." And that to me is a verbal shoulder shrug. To me, business is more than just business. And
Mhm.
so all this talk about a service mentality speaks to that. Um, so much can be accomplished when we create a rapport and we share with each other. And that's what serving does. And so
Mhm.
much can be accomplished not only to grow your business, but to have a better day, to make others feel good, to make yourself feel good, to make everyone feel empowered. And That's not a bad formula to follow, especially in this crazy world we live in today.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing about, the other person's life. It's like we can affect so many lives. We can
So
help somebody live a better life, and if it doesn't mean a sale, it could just mean in some words that you shared with them, some insight, maybe it's a referral for them. But if we look at it that way of sales, as was mentioned earlier about thinking of it as serving, and how can we change a life today?
isn't that lovely? I mean, that's a great goal. And if you do have a sense in life that you want to change the world, that's big, or your corner of the world, that's still big and it's still important. And you want to feel like you've made a contribution. If you do this on a daily basis with the people um, that you meet, that you potentially sell by serving, um, you can make a difference. And like a ripple that's created when you throw a stone in still water, it's the same kind of thing. There's a lot of winning in that, a lot of winning.
Mhm.
Quotas and non quota wins.
Absolutely. This is this conversation, Barbara, I think went in a couple different directions. But I know I've come a long way with sales myself since I was like, oh, I can't do sales. And now I love the conversations.
Well, so, and that's what's so beautiful. That, and you also said learning. You just never stop growing. And when you have that kind of a mindset that's not so frantic about making the sale, but serving other people, you can continue to support your own personal growth and the growth of others. It's really, it's a very cool way to get up in the morning, actually. And we were talking about this beautiful day, weather-wise, and feeling very positive about the day as a whole. And this is all part of the serving instead of selling process. I don't know. I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Do you think we've covered the subject?
Oh, I think we're complete for this one, Barbara.
I think it's a wrap, and we hope that you have found some wisdom in these words, some optimism about going forth and not only having a good day, but about serving in your business, and that you maybe have and will now think differently about quotations, air quotes, sales. Thanks for listening.
Soapbox Wisdom is hosted by brand messaging and storytelling consultant Barbara Menino and business and mindset coach Christine Rothdeutsch. You can find them online at barbaramenino.com and christinerothdeutsch.com.